people go around, it seems to me, with a very carefully suppressed terror of black people, of tremendous uneasiness. They don't know what the blackface hides. They're sure it's hiding something. What it's hiding is American history. You know, what it's hiding is what white people know they have done and are doing. You know, it's what, you know, white people know very well. One thing, and it's the only thing they have to know. They know this, everything else I say is a lie. They know they would not like to be black here. They know that. Now they know that, and they're telling me lies. They're telling me and my children nothing but lies.
For Baldwin, the truth is that the ghettos of his youth remain, gnawing at the spirit of those who live there.
The poverty is piled high, making it even more inescapable, and making it even more inescapable how thoroughly you're despised. The high-rise slum becomes a high-crime area almost at once, because what are you going to do with all these children, really, whole families condemned forever to nothing in the richest city in the world? My best friend, a black boy, jumped off George Washington Bridge when he was 24 and I was 22. And I was sure that I was going to be next.
Just from despair, or?
From despair, from rage, you know. Because you can get to a place where, you know, where you're in battle so often that that's all you can do. You know, you've been beaten so hard. All you can do is your world narrows to a kind of red circle of rage. And you begin to hate everybody, which means you hate yourself. You know, and when that happens, it's over for you.
Baldwin has taken that despair and rage and turned it into novels, theater, and essays, characters drawn from his family and friends. This fall, Dial Press is publishing his 19th book, a novel called Just Above My Head, the story of a black gospel singer during the civil rights struggle.
Welcome to another episode of RBN Live Tuesdays. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick and JB?
What's poppin', people? Good to be with my brother JB, CJ. What's up, JB? Check your audio, JB.
Oh, yeah, audio, yeah.
Oops, I was trying to be responsible. But it's good to see everybody here. Welcome to all.
You might be frozen a little bit. There we go. Now we can see you. There we go.
Yeah. We need municipal broadband. We need, we need broadband and internet to be controlled by the people.
So. Can you hear him any better, Nick?
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him. You can't hear him, CJ?
Mm-mm. But then maybe that's my end.
Yeah, I can hear him though. Can you guys hear JB? Chat, can you hear him? How about both of you guys refresh just in case?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Both of you guys refresh. In the meantime, we got a great announcement. This is gonna be a great. Now I see JB frozen. JB, get out of here. Hold up. Just try to refresh. Tomorrow, we're gonna be doing a dual stream with Black Power Media. We're gonna talk about political prisoners and raise awareness with that, because this is the union between the black left that we believe is necessary. So that's gonna be tomorrow. Thursday is gonna be fire. So we have the Bad Faith podcast episode with RBN coming out on Thursday, and I'm gonna be on Rising on Thursday. So we're gonna record in the morning. I don't know how it works. Record Rising on the Hill in the morning. Maybe they release it at noon. I think that's how it works. I don't really watch the show too much, but we're gonna talk about Venezuela, and we're gonna talk about the cause of the migration crisis. And I'm here to explain them. I'm going to explain to them how it's the United States' fault. So that's going to be exciting. So Thursday is going to be a good day for RBN. So JB, we got JB back. CJ is going to join us here as well. So that's going to be super exciting. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. JB, anything you want to add before we cut you off? Because I know you was probably about to spit fire.
Oh, no. I was just saying a silly dad joke earlier, and I'm glad I was muted because that dad joke probably would have just been womp womp.
Yeah,
so
Damn, I wanted to hear it.
Oh, man. All right. I'll give it to you because it's you, Nick. So when you said what's up, I said hopefully not my cholesterol, but everything else is cool. So
I see.
sorry, Dylan dad jokes. But yeah, but yeah. So I just did a interview with Eddie Liger Smith from Midwestern Marks on my channel earlier today. That was a really good conversation that we had. We talked about an article that was a Venezuelan article actually talking about Canadians that are turning to euthanasia because they cannot, because they can't afford to live, and so they're turning to doing that, as well as I also talked about a stream that Dr. Wolf did talking about how Russian sanctions by the United States are actually having a blowback on
You be
Europe.
killing the game. You beat me to it, man.
Oh, yeah.
I told you guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to JB's Font channel, what are you doing?
Oh,
The most substantive channel on YouTube. Like, if you guys not paying attention to the size of the channel, no one talks about more important issues than JB. You see, he covering Richard Wolff, talking about working class issues. So make sure you guys subscribe. CJ, can you hear us? Is everything working well?
Yeah. I think it was me because my daughter, who's gaming right now, is she's small too. She's small in games. Was like, hey, daddy, something's up with the internet. So I think it must have been mine. But I could hear you fine. Like nothing was wrong with your connection. But yeah. I think I'm back. I can hear both of you. Everybody in the chat said they heard me fine. They heard JB fine. So I think we got things cleared up. So back to you two.
Yeah. So when it was over 2 years ago, because I had my channel where I was pretty much having as like a blog of my canvassing activities while going. I would talk about the people I talked to. Like, I talked to this black person in South Carolina. All for left ideas. That was my channel at first, and then I really ramped up my citizen journalism when the George Floyd protests started, and that's why That's why I had the story where I got tear gas. I was playing out. That was my first real start of citizen journalism. If you asked me then that I would be on the rising 2 years later. What? What? I had no intention of that happening, so that's still crazy. But that's the only thing I want to add. I'm gonna pass it to you, CJ, so we can get started. I was just talking about.
We have a lot of topics today, and the thing is, we still had two that I didn't even add into the thing because it was just not enough like room. So let me put up the graphic just so everybody kind of knows what we're gonna be covering today. Let's go here. So of course we're gonna talk about the forced mourning or forced to be mourning this monarch or this imperialist. They're literally forcing us to watch this stuff. Then I want to talk about I'm using DeSantis only because he's the most popular figure in this with this topic, but just to talk about the idea of these Republican border states shipping or moving or transporting is a better word, recently arrived migrants to blue cities, blue states, just to kind of talk about that and the treatment of migrants as if they're cattle. And then, of course, Don Lemon has been demoted, but the headline is Don Lemon quoting saying, "I'm not demoted." So we'll talk about that. And then recently, a murder of a Black Lives Matter activist. Recent news has come out because of a FOIA report or FOIA request. FBI tracked activists right before he was murdered. How convenient. And we'll play a video from Multipolarista where he's talking about reading the article. We'll read the article too, but talking about how the FBI had the local police pull him over and just search him, trying to get him into the system, and found out he was clean as fuck and there was nothing they can get. But that so you think Black people and brown people and indigenous people are just making up stuff. No reason these people are stopping me. No reason. Now, from him, you think about his point of view. Think about what he was telling his friends. Man, I was doing nothing, and they just stopped me for no reason. And they're gonna be like, it was Black. Wasn't that because he was Black?
And white people are gonna be like, oh, you're just making it up. All police would never do that. For literally generations, they would do that until we had social media. Now they say stuff like, well, you shouldn't have resisted them. You shouldn't have resisted arrest even though they violating your rights. America, land of free, where the cops can just stop you anytime if you show any resistance, they can kill you. What a great country we live in. And remember that video that we shared, CJ, I'll pass it right back to you, where that Karen cop was like, hey, if I want to pull you over, I can find a reason. If you piss me off, I'll find a reason to pull you over. Remember that video?
She's absolutely right.
This incident that you just explained is exactly that. They pulled this guy over and they're like, let's find something. So it's crazy that people put up with that. But go ahead, CJ.
But you know what? But you think of this. This is the, like, it's just a numbers game. Because if you go into a community that needs to survive, meaning getting to work just like every other community, but if you go into a poor community that needs to survive, you know what you're going to catch? People not able to pay all of their bills at once. You know what I mean? So if they got tickets, so if they got registration, they know if they pull over 100 poor people, a lot of them are not going to have things paid on time. Yes, they know that.
Yeah. Especially when you have to. Yeah, especially when you have to worry about people who, like, for instance, whether you're going to pay your light bill or whether you're going to renew your tag. Like, my tag got to be renewed, but I got to pay my light bill. Like, which one am I going to do? So you're going to renew. You're going to pay your light bill because you got to have lights on, but then you're running around with your tag expired, and you got to wait till that next check in order to pay your tag. But you're trying to make sure that you're not near police. But then next thing you know, you get police right behind you trying to get your tag. Next thing you know, they stop you. Sorry, I don't have money for my tag. You don't have money for your tag? Well, that's bad on you. Next thing you know, you get a ticket. You know, or then they may be more aggressive and go, do I smell some marijuana? Is that what I smell? And you know damn well they ain't smell no weed. They know you ran out of your stash like 4 or 5 days ago, so you ain't had weed in about 4 or 5 days, and so you're just sitting there like, I ain't got nothing on me. But then they still want to do something. And then if you try to exercise your right, step out of the car, get out of the car. And then next thing you know, you'll wind up in jail, get more money tagged on you because now you got to pay to get bailed out. See how it goes?
Yeah.
See how it goes?
It's such a scam. It's such a scam.
But it's funny because you get a lot of people who talk about, oh, well, black people, you guys, things like this aren't really happening. When meantime, a couple of weeks ago, I just brought up a story about how the FBI was looking deeply at Aretha Franklin. Yeah. Aretha Franklin, because she was too close to the Black Power movement. So
that's how they treat freedom. See how freedom is. So I think let's start off with maybe some of the funner, quicker stories just to make sure we get these quick ones out. And I think we can do the Don Lemon and the Queen pretty quickly. So let's start with the Queen because I have. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna start with those stories. I also have once again, it shouldn't be a long segment, but one I definitely want to cover because I know both me and JB been covering the murder of Shireen Abdul-Akleh by Israel.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be a long segment. We can get to that later as well.
But that's one of the stories I was saying how we have other stories to do. We just didn't put them in the title, and that's actually one of them. So I just searching funeral and Queen just to see the different things. So we have Joshua, well-known leftist online. This is what he's showing. So let's read. So I just want to show some videos and show some tweets with this story, and we can kind of just talk about what's happening. But the title of this segment is the world mourns imperialism. I don't know how else to describe it. Is that
I said it before?
Go ahead.
I said it before. I'll be quick, CJ. I said it before.
No, go ahead.
If the UK didn't colonize the entire world, like everyone will look at them as the most clown country because they have this insane society, and then they normalize that society by colonizing many countries and putting their monarch all over the place. So now the concept of the Queen and the King is well known through the world. Like King Henry, one of the motherfuckers, the one that killed all his wives. The one who killed all his wives, he literally set the stereotype for what a king is. Like literally that was invented by England. You know that big fat authoritarian motherfuckers who can do whatever you want. I watched the documentary. They said that stereotype of a king was started with. Let me guys know in the chat which Henry was that. Some fucking one like Henry VIII. Well, the one that killed all his wives. He's the one who created that stereotype of a king. And that culture, what Henry VIII. Yeah, I was close. I see. Thank you, Pittsburgh.
He's the most. I think he's the most famous one of the Henrys that I hear the most of is Henry VIII. Yeah.
So I'll pass it to you, CJ. But this is when you see the world mourning this queen, and the only reason that's normalized is this worship of the ruling class ghouls. We will view these people as a failing backward society, and that's why I view the UK. You showing some videos here. There's clips, and I'm gonna show you guys. I got one saved. The people waiting 24 hours in line just to see a coffin. How is that not a cult society? Yes, JB. I'm gonna share that receipt later. I got it saved here. These people are waiting 24 hours just to stare at a dead old woman in a coffin.
What? Go on. Go on.
It's CJ. I'll pass it back to you. I'll share that receipt later. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so I'm just playing videos of people talking about this ridiculousness of this funeral, this lavish funeral. These people who are, you know how much taxes they're dodging with the estate tax over there, but they're exempt. The crown is exempt. It's ridiculous. It's hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes they're saving.
British colonialism, well, it's not really being pageantry after a 71 British government for the pageantry around the funeral, while in Great Britain, 22% of its citizens are in poverty. A recent Guardian article talked about British children stealing food because hunger has become prevalent. Now, winter is not even here yet. And as we enter autumn and the fuel prices continue to be higher, Great Britain is facing a stark reality by refusing to purchase Russian gas and cooperate with that nation. The sanctions that were imposed upon Russia by the US and Great Britain are now boomeranged, and both economies are tanking and suffering with high costs of fuel, inflation, and for Europe, it could mean some people can't even heat their homes. But never mind that. People like the oligarch Jeff Bezos came down on someone who was criticizing Great Britain for its colonialism. And by colonialism, we mean that there's only 22 countries that the Great Britain did not occupy. And social media was alight with some criticism that couldn't be squelched, even by the blue check elites. And that would be Irish Twitter, African Twitter, and Caribbean Twitter that all united to talk about what it was like to be colonized by Great Britain and the crimes against humanity that went on under Queen Elizabeth's reign and before. Now, this legacy of the royal family is interesting because the taxes around that the British people pay often go for these lavish lifestyles that the royals lead. So it begs to the question, two questions actually. Will Ireland be united now that Queen Elizabeth is dead? And also, will the colonialism of the British Empire come to an end as Western hegemony gives way to a multipolar world?
That is a friend of the show, Tara Reid. Yeah. Go ahead, Nick. I was just shouting out her name, just making sure people know who she is. Tara Reid, shouting out.
Yeah, she's doing
reporting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. Pretty much that's like Tara has a really underrated channel. She'll be on, I guess, a few times. And I tell you, she's more than just the person who accused Joe Biden of sexual assault. She's really well read on politics. So make sure you gotta check her out. CJ, let me show you see.
Go ahead.
I want to share for another video. Yeah. I want to show JB what I was talking about earlier. I saw this, and this is after the segment. I did this whole segment where actually let me just watch the video. This is a 30-second video. Actually, let's watch the video, and then I'll read it. Because I did a segment before talking about how England is a clown country, and I despise this trick the ruling class pulled off, which was massively successful, where they took ruling class figures and turned them to celebrities. And when I see ordinary people worshiping the queen, especially many of the people in England who are peasants, and their wealth and their taxes is used to fund the luxurious activities of the queen and king. So let's look at this insane country. And I'm sorry, I talk about England and the United States the same way that the United States and England will talk about the DPRK and Russia or whatever. They have no more high ground on nobody. Look at this. Yeah, let's play this. So I'm gonna get back to I'm gonna show you guys. This is the tweet. It said the line to bid a final farewell to Queen Elizabeth II is near now total capacity. The UK government warned this morning the wait time for the queue is more than 24 hours. 24 hours. Look how much these people worship this person who could not give a single fuck about them. Isn't that a brainwashed? And then once again, it is. I see someone in the chat. That is depressing. I see you, Red Raccoon. That's extremely depressing because this is a society that was brainwashed. It's essentially a cult-like society, but they think it's normal. Like when the West talk about the Western values, they see how they worship the Queen. They see the same poverty rates and authoritarianism in their country, and they're like, "This is great." JB, CJ, you guys want to take that on? And CJ, you can do the next part if you want.
Yeah. I was laughing about something earlier. You know how a lot of people talk about how, the royal family is exempt from taxes and they live off basically the tax money from their government off the backs of the people. The Queen was literally a welfare queen. Think about it. She's literally a welfare queen. And so the funny part is, people, when you say that, they automatically want to go to look at people who are, poor and black. And it's like, no. Queen Elizabeth is literally a welfare queen. She is the queen of them. She's the one, just like, Queen Elizabeth's a welfare queen. You got a welfare king named Jeff Bezos. You got another welfare king named Elon Musk. That's exactly what they are. They're the ones who are really stripping. And the thing is that a lot of times people who look like us are demonized for wanting things that our government should be giving us. And yet they're praising people who are literally stealing from us, right? And so the thing is that script needs to be flipped. The people who need to be demonized are the people who are actually stealing from us and from the most disenfranchised. And the fact that you have Irish, Asian, and African people literally dancing at the fact that she died really means that why are we dancing? Is it just because we're just hateful? No, it's because a crime was committed, and at least that one part of the monarchy is gone. That one oppressor is gone. So that's what it really means, and people really need to get that into retrospect. And apparently, 750,000 people in the UK that they didn't get that message.
Yeah, the UK is becoming quite too authoritarian and fascist for my liking. JB, people are being threatened with their jobs in the UK. I talked to a friend I knew who lived in the UK for a while. He was like, God, bro, it's crazy. I was talking to him on Twitter. He's like, bro, everyone's afraid to say something about the Queen. Like it's the same thing they said was the case in the DPRK in North Korea, where they said if you didn't properly pray Kim Jong-il, your life would be ruined. That is literally what happened in the UK. If you get caught with a Facebook post, you'll be getting fired for criticizing the Queen. So they are extremely fashy over there, and that's the same thing you see over here. And the person, I'm gonna see if I can find it because I don't have it saved. But Tara Reid brought up the black journalist and organizer who called out the Queen, and then Jeff Bezos. No, sorry. A black academic. I misstated. It was a black academic that called out the Queen, and then Jeff Bezos and all the colonizers went crazy. You had Tucker Carlson praising the imperialism of the UK and England, and he was like, we missed the days where the UK was in India messing around with China. That's when the world was more stable. That's the guy that people pretend is an anti-imperialist. The guy Tucker Carlson who won it. I'm gonna see if I find that receipt. Go ahead, CJ. I actually want to share that. Now that I think about it, but go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, I just want us to put this in the right perspective. Who is this family, and why are we celebrating them? Like, what about them are we celebrating? What about them can be celebrated is the question. Why is everybody who's rich doing all of this fanfare? Why is this country who supposedly left because of the monarch? And I think this is telling that this is not the reason they left. It's more of the reason what Dr. Gerald Horne speaks about, which is there were a counter-revolution against the upcoming abolition of slavery. And that's why they came here, because they wanted to continue slavery on this continent and making money. So I suggest you read his book. I forget the year, but it's The Counter-Revolution is what it's called, by Dr. Gerald Horne. But again, put this in perspective. Do you think they don't know the world doesn't know what they've done, what they're responsible for? Do you think they don't know that? But their people are being forced to not give they can't give or restrain from giving their honest criticism of these people. Like, I don't understand why. I can't remember. I was in early teens when I found out all the stuff I heard in my history books that family was still alive and people were. I didn't know that. Right. I thought, yeah, I did. I was like 13, and I was like,
yeah, I remember. Like,
what? I was like, what? I was like, why haven't people hung every single one of the people in the family? Like, what the hell is going on? Do we know not? That was my reaction before I was a leftist. I was like, this is crazy.
I remember being CJ, it's funny you brought this up because I remember being a teenager. I don't remember what age, right? But I remember thinking, like, you know, them like stories where you see a king and we all knew like England historically had a king. I remember when I first heard they still had a king. I'm like, what? They still do?
Yes.
And then they lied to us, and they say stuff like, oh well, the king and the queen, they don't really have power. Yes, they do. The king and queen 100% power. They 100% influenced the power of the politics of England. There was some guy I was watching. He was talking about how the queen and the king actually had the power to stop some bills in some situations. And I'm like, what? I literally just learned this shit, guys.
How is this still going on? I don't understand. Like, why do the people? This is after people has been ruled so long, they want to continue to be ruled. Is that what this is going on? It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the people who have been ruled by these people. Why are you looking up to them? And the people who are criticizing people who are saying this is a genocidal monarch, like what? What is? We have the proof, and I'm going to bring up another receipt. I'm going to bring this down. I'll bring up another receipt. I'll pass it to you, Nick, if you had your item, because this is a receipt of Don Lemon. I know you've seen it when Don Lemon said something about reparations to this person about the royal family and their response. If you haven't seen it,
I actually have not seen that.
I'm going to show it to you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. I saw this earlier, but it to show you guys how much the UK in the U.S. culture, ride the brains of everyone. I'm gonna show you guys this Tucker Carlson. It's only like a few seconds, and Breakthrough News did a great job debunking everything he says here. This is Tucker Carlson, the anti-imperialist, and ever since RBS, I've been warning you guys about Tucker. Like, people keep saying stuff about Tucker Carlson as if he's the best news reporter. He's trash. He's imperialist enabling trash. He is class loyal to the rich. So look at this segment coming from quote unquote anti-imperialist Tucker Carlson. And let me pull it up here.
And Nick, let me back up your point. Tucker Carlson is literally the heir to the Swanson food empire. He's literally an heir.
In the real world, the one that we live in, strong countries dominate weak countries, and that trend shows no sign of changing. The very least you can say about the English is that they took their colonial responsibilities seriously. They didn't just take things, they added. When the US government withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years, we left behind airstrips, shipping containers, and guns. When the British pulled out of India, they left behind an entire civilization, a language, a legal system, schools, churches, and public buildings, all of which are still in use today. Here's the train station the English built in Bombay, for example. There's nothing like that in Washington, D.C. right now, much less in Kabul or Baghdad. Today, India is far more powerful than the UK, the nation that once ruled it. And yet, after 75 years of independence, has that country produced a single building as beautiful as the Bombay train station that the British colonialists built?
Oh, my God.
Well, sadly, it has not one. So despite what they may be claiming on Twitter tonight, the British Empire was more than just genocide. In fact, the British did not commit genocide, except arguably against the Dutch during the Boer War. The British did give the world the Magna Carta and habeas corpus and free speech. They helped end the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the ritual murder of widows in India. The British Empire spread Protestant Christianity to the entire world. It published some of the greatest literature ever written and produced the finest manufactured goods ever made anywhere at any time, including now. It was an impressive place run by impressive people. We will see many empires going forward, but we will never see one so benign.
There's a lot there, so maybe I'll just ask you, Prasanth, what your reaction is to this clip from America's most popular TV host.
I mean, the short answer is basically I don't need to answer it all. You just need to sort of invert everything he said, and that's a 20-minute segment for you, because every line just add the, make it the exact opposite that's a true story. But I mean, I think I watched this clip yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. At one level, as someone who read basic history textbooks, there was a sense of incredulity and shock. It's a bit amusing now because it's like sixth time watching it, maybe. But then as a journalist, I was like just sort of at some level astounded because of how someone comments on. It's like, say, me talking about the physics and biology of marathon running or something like that, because it's so absurd. But yeah, I mean, but keeping that aside, I think. What Tucker Carlson is saying here is the extreme version. It's very probably politically incorrect to say that in many places because people recognize it as racist and all that. And so people don't say it in that way so much anymore. But there's a bit.
So I don't want to play the whole video. Make sure you guys check this one out. This is from Breakthrough News, because I saw this video. This guy went through and debunks everything that Tucker Carlson said there. That is coming from the guy. This is the MAGA communist guy. These are the people that people think he's on our side. People think Tucker Carlson is anti-empire. Dude,
who?
There's so
many. You be knowing a bunch of shit. I don't be even knowing what's the fuck's going on, Nick, because I don't.
Hey, Jackson was on Tucker, man.
What?
Jamie was on Tucker. Like, these people pretend that he's something he's fucking not, bro. Like, I don't understand. Now listen. I had another receipt.
Yeah.
Here's another one. I'll just read this headline real quick. Fox News Tucker Carlson goes on racist rant glorifying British colonialism. And this is him melting down. The guy who says the left are snowflakes? Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson's like, oh my God, the left are snowflakes. Meanwhile, he melted down because we were laughing at this dead oligarch. Look, he said that he was attacking the Queen out of form of jealousy because her era was better than the one we live in now.
Jealousy.
Slander the ruler. Discredit the entire period she lived in, he said. And that's exactly why they're attacking Queen Elizabeth tonight. Not because she was a bad person. She was not a bad person. Tucker Carlson here to defend the powerful.
Right.
The Queen is not a bad person, said Tucker Carlson to fight for the workers.
Yeah.
And the things he listed weren't achievements. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you are picking stuff and saying as achievement. Oh, they brought the world to Magna Carta. Who the fuck said that's an achievement to the human race? Like, who the fuck said that's these things that he listed? But I'll pass it to. Did you have? I think JB wanted to chime in before I go ahead on this and show you this Don Lemon video.
JB, you have anything else?
Look, just one thing. The oligarchs protect themselves, right? That being said, like I said, Tucker Carlson is an heir to the Swanson family. That being said, he's going to protect his own. The class solidarity is stronger than any solidarity that you can have. And Tucker Carlson is protecting his class. So I don't care if you consider yourself conservative. You're being duped by Tucker Carlson. Point blank, period. Because he does not stand with the workers. He's just making you think he does, because really he wants to keep you at the bottom.
His arguments are so lacking facts and history, and anybody who listened to them, in order for you to buy in with what he says, you are required not to read anything.
Yeah,
you are required because there's no other way for this to fall. You get what I'm saying? Like, you are required to just be like, those books, fuck that shit. I'm just going over here and looking and listening to Tucker Carlson.
One last point. Go ahead. Move on to the next segment. This is another example, because there are people who always say Tucker anti-imperialist. I will hear this flow out because he questioned the Ukraine war. And I want to explain to you guys, there's a difference between being anti-war and anti-imperialist. There is no universe where Tucker Carlson is anti-imperialist. He is for the domination and the expansion of Western hegemony. His criticism of the war on terror was it was a bad use of our resources. Instead, we should be fighting China and Russia. This is stuff that these people argue. Oh, instead of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, we need to check China. These people are not anti-imperialist. They're not even anti-war, I would say. But there is clear difference, and this guy is definitely a tool of the imperial empire. But go ahead, CJ.
I think people in his world, they don't like the imperialists that are currently imperialists. Yeah. Like, they don't like those people, so it allows them to say, I am anti-imperialist. It allows them to say that. And this is very akin to social patriotism to me.
Yeah, and they were all for overthrowing Venezuela and waging war in Colombia and supporting Bolsonaro imperialists. So I just want to add that part too, but go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, let's play this clip. Now, this is still the Queen story, even though Don Lemon is the one who's in it. Now, let me read the caption here. Now, maybe you haven't seen this video because it's all is buzzing in the conservative world. Like, mic drop. Like, this woman did a mic drop. CNN's Don Lemon tells royal commentary Hillary Fordrich the royal family should pay reparations immediately regrets. And then it's a lot of people retweeting it like, oh, look at that. See, like saying like mic drop. Now let's listen and see if to you, Nick and JB, if this is a mic drop lesson for anyone. Actually, I don't know who it would be for.
Well, this
is ridiculous. Let's listen.
This is coming when, you know, there's all of this wealth and you hear about it comes as England is facing rising costs of living, a living crisis, austerity budget cuts, and so on. And then you have those who are asking for reparations for colonialism, and they're wondering, you know, $100 billion, $24 billion here and there, $500 million there. some people want to be paid back, and members of the public are wondering, why are we suffering when you are, you have all of this vast wealth? Those are legitimate concerns.
Well, I think you're right about reparations in terms of if people want it, though, what they need to do is you always need to go back to the beginning of a supply chain. Where was the beginning of the supply chain? That was in Africa. And across the entire world, when slavery was taking place, which was the first nation in the world that abolished slavery? The first nation in the world to abolish it. It was started by William Wilberforce, was the British. In Great Britain, they abolished slavery. 2,000 naval men died on the high seas trying to stop slavery. Why? Because the African kings were rounding up their own people. They had them on cages waiting in the beaches. No one was running into Africa to get them. And I think you're totally right. If reparations need to be paid, we need to go right back to the beginning of that supply chain and say, who was rounding up their own people and having them handcuffed in cages?
Okay, we're going to come back to the video. That is serious. That is a serious happened on CNN.
Please tell me Don Lemon put that.
That is Don Lemon. He's a black capitalist. What do you think?
I know.
What do you think? And this is not even the Don Lemon segment. This is not even the Don Lemon segment of him being demoted. But can you believe what was said on national TV?
These people,
the imperialists are now saying the people, the Africans who sold us these slaves. And now are you trying to say the vast majority of Africans, that's how you got slaves, which is a complete lie. So those Africans, that's the beginning. Those people, as she sits on her crown with pearls and diamonds and jewels from other countries on her freaking crown. It amazes me that how is she even vetted to come on TV to say that? That's beyond me. Go ahead, JB.
Boy, let me tell you. Crazy is an understatement, CJ. My God. Look. Hold up. She said they abolished slavery, meaning that they took place in it. I don't care if they were the first, they still participated in it. So therefore, reparations are still owed. So she didn't even clear her entire argument. Next, just because accepting the argument that there were some African people that enslaved Africans and then
this is black on black crime argument.
Right.
This is the black on black crime argument. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just accept that false notion that Africans, enslaved other Africans, blah blah blah. Just because they did that, why in the hell did the British go ahead and still took them as slaves anyway? Why? Like, you guys shouldn't have did it anyway in the first place. Also, as it is explained, when it came to the type of slavery that Africans had, it was more of an indentured servitude that you would have tribes against tribes, and they would take them in, and then they also treated them like what? Employees instead of actual slaves as we know it. So therefore, the notion of slavery was different with what the Africans had, because they may have been some prisoners of war and of conflicts there. And then they probably were also taken, to be acclimated to society, and they wouldn't be in this chattel slavery as we know it. But then what did the Europeans do? And it's not just the British that did it. It was also the Portuguese and the Spanish and the Dutch that also participated too. They brought those slaves over to the United States, and they treated them worse than they treated the animals. That being said, we were also still slaves under British rule, including when we were in the American colonies. So, with that being said, yes, reparations is still owed because Britain still was participating in chattel slavery, and it's not only in slavery that that Britain owes reparations to. It also owes reparations, for instance, in what happened in Africa, in Kenya, and what they did there when Queen Elizabeth was the monarch. So therefore, if you're going to talk about this, then you may want to bring up all the history. Don't just bring up some cherry-picked notion of the history. Also, while we're at it, why are we getting our history lesson of imperialism, I'm sorry, from a colonial sympathizing white woman? No, you don't have the wherewithal to stand there to tell us about it.
So, right. We get the logic of repayment from the imperialists. We get logic of how repayment should be from the imperialists.
Have several seats with your pearls that you probably stole.
Go ahead, Nick.
And hold on. Before Nick,
go ahead.
I'm gonna let you go in a second, Nick. Just give me this real quick. All those diamonds, all that gold, all them pearls, all that stuff that Queen Elizabeth is sitting there, that's all stolen shit. That's basically equivalent of having your neighbor sit next to you. All your shit was stolen. They're wearing all your golden jewelry and goes, I heard you got robbed. That's what they did. And you mean to sit there and tell us, oh, well, it was all the people. The victim blaming. Victim blaming? Really? Is that where we're at? I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
So she's just wrong because Mexico. So her premise is wrong. Mexico was the first country that ended slavery. You guys know that? So she's inherently wrong. And the question was about reparations. The reparations that your country has to pay the debt of the black people you exploited. That has nothing to do. Why do I even have to say that? The debt that you owe to slaves has quite literally nothing to do with what Africans were doing. The debt that you owe to people that you stole their wealth from in colonial countries has quite literally nothing to do. So her answer, from my perspective, has literally nothing to do with Don Lemon's question. Don Lemon was like, yo, the Queen in England is responsible for massive like slavery, all this stuff. Should we pay reparations? Yes. And those African warlords, that had nothing to do with what you're talking about. So that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, like there's many different invasions that didn't have any of those things involving any African. So you see how she selectively picked out the Atlantic slave trade and not all the other atrocities that has happened. You see how she did that. And then to think this is her logic though. Because some African, let's say all the Africans they got were gotten by some African person. That didn't happen. You mean to tell me you got a free person because the initial person made this decision and you don't have any, so all the free labor you get, you don't have any responsibility in that. You don't have any responsibility in any of the riches that you've gotten, any of the resources that you've extracted after that. They're basically saying, because that person said this, we get to do everything else after that, whatever the fuck we want, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And you guys see how UK and US propaganda got these people immediately apologizing for the crimes of their state. So the idea that they owe something to other people is absurd to them. And that show by Tucker Carlson segment where he's talking about how much British colonialism helped the world, right? I explained this concept before. A lot of white people, a lot of Western chauvinists, they see genocide, they see the exploitation of Black, brown, indigenous people all over the world as a necessary evil to reach the society that we have right now. That's why whenever you ask white people about reparations, whether they're in the UK, whether they're in the US, their answer is always the same, because it's rooted in the idea that, yeah, all that bad stuff, that was necessary so we can have the great society that we live in right now. Guys, look to your left and look to your right. What the fuck is so good about the society? We just covered 40% of people in the UK live in poverty. People dying without health care. Massive death and famine. Like, what the death, the genocide, the massive pain and suffering that a lot of white people in the UK and the US think were worthwhile led to ultimately nothing. And they use that to justify the sins of their ancestors. And it's something that we as anti-imperialists, the real anti-imperialists, as real anti-colonialists, we got to reject that. And that's why our language tend to make a lot of these people uncomfortable, because I reject it. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah. I'll finish playing the video. Or yeah, I can finish playing it, then I'll let you comment. Go ahead.
Absolutely, that's where they should start. And maybe, I don't know, the descendants of those families where they died in the high seas trying to stop the slavery, that those families should receive something too, I think, at the same time.
It's an interesting discussion, Hillary. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Did
we'll continue
did you get your answer,
in the
Nick?
future.
Did he push back? Did that give your answer,
Dawn?
So I see there's a ton of right-wing people online that was like, oh my God, Don Lemon owned, and he was, because he had no response. That's how you know these people are paid millions of dollars to know nothing, to have no intelligence. Their job is just to be an actor. So when they bring up any fact that is not pre-programmed or any response that is not pre-fed to them by the producers, they have no idea what to say. Don Lemon, all these people on TV you guys see, and this is why I got into this space. I literally decided to become a citizen journalist because I realized I saw all the people who were political reporters, and I was like, these people are fucking idiots. These people are idiots. So I remember when I was younger, I would like, this is something that would like just plant it in my thought, my brain or whatever, right? I would see people on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, like when you was a kid, and I would just assume they are smart. That was my assumption. Then as I got older, as I read just a very small amount, I realized that, oh, these people are fucking morons. I can do exactly what they're doing. So whenever you see these people in these positions of CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they did not get that position because they're the smartest person in the room, because they're the best journalists. They got that position because they know someone who knows someone. When they was in college, they were networking, they met someone powerful, and eventually led them to the connections where they got the job where they have today. It's always the same shit. It's not because they're merit. We do not have a merit-based society. It's literally just based on who you know and what class you started with. But go ahead, CJ.
No, that's a great. Oh, that's a great point. So what I was getting ready now, let's move to the next quick. That wasn't so quick because there was a lot to say in there. But Don Lemon actually gets demoted from his primetime show to a morning show. So, but Don Lemon is saying this is not a demotion. Let me bring up the article here.
They better demote that motherfucker after that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that was before or after the demotion, but after that, I'm like, all right, guys, get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
No, I mean, of course, CNN, they're down for whatever she's saying. Yeah. They're down for, her saying that. So I don't think they would demote him for that. But let's see if this article will come up. Hang on a second here. This internet here. Don Lemon. All right, so let's see which one. Don Lemon is no, it's not a promotion. He's trying to say it's a promotion. This is not the article. I want to find the Fox News article because, of course, they'll be the ones that give the real deal. It's not popping up. Sorry, hang on a second here. Looks like I'm having internet problems, everybody. Hang on a second. Yeah, maybe we'll do a different story. Let's move to a different story and then come back to this one. Yeah.
This should be a fun segment too. I have a fun segment. I was about to do the other day, but we ran out of time. So let me start the segment out with this. January 6th was a joke. Anyone if you ever see someone who's fear-mongering over January 6th, those people are shady, or their mind is still colonized, is still talking about, imagine melting down over January 6th because some members of the ruling class felt unsafe. Imagine thinking that's something that as a working class movement, we should give a fuck about. And I'm gonna tell you guys, as a socialist, as a communist, we should not be invested over these small fights, this capitalist infighting. I will make the argument that January 6th benefited both parties. But if you legitimately think that was a real scuffle, why would socialists, why would working class people would be invested any way, shape, or form over the fights and spats over the ruling class? And I'm gonna go a step further, and this is why I'm rough around the edges. This is why a lot of progressives don't like me. If Donald Trump started that fucking election, I don't give a fuck. That's capitalists robbing elections from other capitalists. They steal elections from us all the time. I would look at them like, hey, yo, maybe that's why you guys should revolt against the system. And I'll be real, I really don't care. Like, what? Why should I cry over one imperialist stealing the election over another imperialist? I just don't understand that. So why they had the January 6th hearings that was meant to distract from working class issues. I was telling people, like, if you think people care about January 6th, you're out of your fucking mind. If Democrats think they was going to run on January 6th and win, they are out of their mind. And people got mad. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Socialist MMA is minimalizing January 6th. Now I'm going to show you guys a story. Why the few people you see on social media that is talking about January 6th as if it's a important story, they are 100% shills of the Democratic Party, and there's a possibility they are being paid by the Biden administration. Why do I say this? There's this TikToker that exposed that the Biden administration reached out to him to make January 6th videos, and he was offered payment for it. And when I'll play this video, now think in your mind, how many influencers took the deal? So let me play the video, and I'm gonna get you guys reaction after that.
Okay.
I was just offered $400 to make an anti-Donald Trump propaganda post related to the January 6th investigation that is completely not true. I should start out this video by saying I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, so that should give a little bit of context to where I'm coming from. I'm an attorney. I post legal news and analysis on related topics. Okay, here we go with the story. So first thing first, I get an email from somebody with the Good Info Foundation. Talk about them a little more in a minute. I'm going to refer to this person as Jane. Jane sent me a message letting me know she represented the Good Info Foundation and that she was willing to offer a paid collaboration to discuss some topics related to January 6th. I said, sure, why not? I'll learn some more. Jane says the Good Info Foundation will give me $400 to make a post on my page and then share it to Instagram. So you see that blue link? All right, here we're going to follow it. These are the specific requirements in order to obtain that $400 of how I should refer to the January 6th Capitol raid. Number one, I must call this a criminal conspiracy. Number two, I must say Trump Republicans were responsible. Number three, I must frame it as an attack on my country, an attack on America or Americans, a criminal conspiracy, and a committed crime. I must attribute the matter to MAGA Republicans. I must make clear that this was ongoing and unresolved. And most importantly, that I must channel all of this unto the manipulation of voter agencies so that I could turn their anger around this event into defiance that would make people more likely to vote in midterms. And the thing that struck me the most was this part, where I was told to talk about the aspects of the Trump campaign's plan. And I was supposed to say that the Trump campaign paid literally millions of dollars to make January 6th happen. So I figured, maybe I missed something. So I said, hey, Jane, what is the basis for the claim that the Trump campaign itself paid millions of dollars to make the January 6th siege of the Capitol happen? Jane doesn't answer the question. Hi, Preston. If you don't want to state that in the video, it's fine. You don't have to use all the bullet points provided. So I kept going. Sure, I am just wondering if there's support for that claim. Jane doesn't answer again. Let me know if you are interested and the rate works for you. Thanks so much. I'm not interested and the rate doesn't work for me. This is the Good Info Foundation. They boast on their homepage that good information is the lifeblood of a democracy.
So all those people, he didn't take the deal. But imagine, I still remember all the people that was tweeting, making videos about January 6th. And this is almost like a follow-up of the story that we did quite a long time ago, where you had TikTokers that was being paid by the Biden administration to repeat their talking points on inflation, on COVID-19. So when you guys go on Twitter, you guys see these people who bootleg for the Democrat Party. I don't take Twitter seriously at all because Twitter is literally filled with CIA bots. Maybe 1 out of 10 people there are real. And then the people who are real, they are operating accounts that are paid by the DNC, like Brooklyn Dad, like this guy. This guy exposed them. Imagine how many people took the deal. Now you got people pretending that January 6th is such a giant deal. Now look at this. And I try to warn people, this is why they had to pay TikTokers. Because I was telling these progressives, these AOC, AOC and her circle fans was tweeting about January 6th all day, every day during the hearings. And I was like, imagine if you guys spend this time actually advocating for worker issues dipshits. January 6th hearings haven't changed public opinion on Trump. So essentially, as I said before, and I'm not out of touch, it's the people that are have liberal brain. Like I start out hard, and people are, oh my God, if you're not a fan of RB, you probably watching. I can't believe Nick is dismissing January 6th. Let me tell you guys something. The only people who care about January 6th are privileged partisans. CJ, JB, have you guys ever been talking to your family, relatives, friends, and they probably like,
never.
Man, you know, I know we're watching the basketball game here. You know what's really on my mind? Our democracy, man. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I'm watching the UFC with some friends. We smoking some weed. He's like, man, you know, I'm really over this democracy thing, man. Those Trump supporters, he was so close, man. But anyway, I'm going you guys, there don't have to be a long story. Any take that you guys have on this before you move on?
No, you're on point. And
yeah, we can keep it there. You guys want. It don't have to be a long story.
Yeah, you're on point.
I know you just got back, CJ. I'll pass to you guys.
Yeah,
that much short
let me just do this quick story because I just want to do this quick story on Don Lemon. Because I'm gonna be leaving. Yeah, I want to do this quick story. For whatever reason, I'm having issue with internet today, which I haven't had since I've been here, since for at least several months. But anyway,
yeah, JB, unless you have something, we can make this a shorter stream then.
Yeah, this will be a short story here. This is Don Lemon demoted, but he's saying I'm not demoted. And so let's read this story. CNN shakeup, Don Lemon removed from primetime, 2 mornings, struggling, new day to be replaced. I'm so happy. I mean, I wish he was off TV, but for him not to be able to pick the stories that he can talk about, to be able to be the only voice on the screen, it's so lovely. But so let's read more of the story and then I'll get your comments. First off, understand this is written from Fox News perspective because it already starts off crazy as fuck. CNN's left-wing host, Don Lemon,
left-wing host. Oh my God, Donnie Lemon is a communist. Oh, he's gonna send us to the gulag.
So yes, it says CNN's left-wing host Don Lemon will end his primetime show Don Lemon tonight and move to mornings later this year, the network announced Thursday. Lemon will join CNN's host Poppy Harlow and Caitlin Collins on the reimagined morning show that will replace the long, struggling New Day, because it sucks. The move leaves CNN with a gaping hole in prime time, and as Chris Cuomo prime time still has not been replaced, still namesake host Chris Cuomo was, since namesake host Chris Cuomo was last fired. They say it again. You see how this is framing. So we're using this. Let's use this article also to bring up the propaganda framing to the conservative audience, Nick and JB, that they're getting. You see how they keep inserting CNN's left-wing primetime hosts. Why do they teach you that in English 101? Like once you say Don, then you just say he the remainder of time to refer to him. Why do they keep saying CNN's left-wing host? That's to drive home this propaganda point so that their audience sees him as left-wing when he's not.
Yeah. And
so,
funny thing,
go ahead.
Funny thing though is that there is actually a article on The Hill that the title of the article says changes spark chatter of CNN shifting to the right. So that is something to keep in mind, that even maybe to CNN, that Don Lemon to them is too far to the left. And that is scary because that makes you realize that these corporate media, they see the fascism on the horizon. And in order to keep themselves in the position that they are, they now have to do the likes of Hugo Boss. They have to do the likes of Mercedes-Benz. They have to do the likes of BMW and become fascist fascist sympathizing companies in order to keep themselves in business. So you see what's on the horizon? That's what it looks like to me, at least.
Yeah, it's terrible, and that's actually what a lot of people have been saying about CNN when they're saying they need to become more biased. That just means they need to be less liberal. That's really what they're talking about. But let me finish this up because I want to move to, we have to cover, I just forgot, we have to cover the black activist story, the murdered black activist story. So let me just read this next paragraph or two, and then we'll close this out and move on. So the two hosts, who are named John Berman and Breonna Keller, will continue to anchor New Day until the new programming premieres, and then will be given new roles. That's my alarm to get my girl. New roles at the network. Given Keller's liberal leanings and recent ousters as such partisan CNN figures as John Harlan and Brian Stelter, some observers thought Keller would be shown the door as the network continues to revamp under new CEO Chris Lynch, but it appears she's sticking around. So I'll leave it there. But CNN's primetime host Don Lemon, this is their second primetime host that is now leaving their primetime slot in this shift of CNN with the new leadership moving more right, as JB is saying. Nick or JB, did either of you had any words?
My only take on this story is I told you guys I watched a lot of ever since maybe the start of this year. In order to become a better citizen journalist, I want to be able to talk about what our enemies are saying. So I've been watching more corporate news coverage on like stuff like war, just so I can see where the propaganda is coming from. And out of all the corporate news networks that I get my Oppo research from, CNN is who I watch the absolute least. Because I know like they provide the absolute least amount of value. Like if I watch MSNBC, at least you at least can see like the talking points that coming directly out of the Democratic Party and the operatives. CNN is literally just flood. Like I would literally try to watch a CNN segment. It is so boring. I'm like, who is watching this shit? And Don Lemon in particular, we all saw how intellectually short he is. CNN always, and this is why they struggle so much in the ratings. It's just deeply uninteresting propaganda. Like I don't understand how anyone can watch it. Like it's so mind-numbingly dumb. I can watch one segment and I'm like, dude, I watched it for 3 minutes and they ain't said nothing of substance. So that's what I would say because I don't have a lot of eyeball on these people because I barely ever watch them. You guys see when I do segments, I'm pulling up MSNBC and Fox News. I literally can't even stand watching CNN for 1 second. But go ahead.
No, I agree. It is the station that I can't sit through the most because it's projecting to try to be balanced, but it's really clearly and unabashedly liberal. So I think we can end it there. Unless you had something to add, we can move to the BLM story. It's actually not the BLM story.
If you want, we can wrap on the story because I can do the Israel story tomorrow. I want to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can wrap this on this one.
We don't want to make that. So let me show you. There's two things. I just want to show you the headline, and then we're gonna go to a quick video. Ferguson activist Darren Seals was surveillance by FBI file shows. So let me read this, and this is who broke the story, Riverfront Times. So I guess I'll read it, and then we'll show a little bit of the video by Ben Norton here because he covered it very well. The 900-page, mostly redacted file. So they got it through a FOIA request, but it's mostly redacted. Of course, you see how the ruling class really never. They tell you that you have this apparatus to get your rights and to gain leverage, but then they tell you, oh no, but we can redact this shit. You see that? So let me continue with the story. The 900-page, mostly redacted file says the police pulled Seals over at the request of FBI. And that's a picture of the young man who was murdered. And a previously classified, heavily redacted FBI file shows that the agency opened a file on Darren Seals before his death. Seals was an activist from Ferguson who came to prominence during the protests following the 2014 killing of Michael Brown. In September 2016, he was found shot and killed in his car, which had been set on fire. The murder has never been solved. In the file, the FBI refers to Seal as a self-described revolutionary who has espoused somewhat militant rhetoric and has access to weapons. Seal, who was 29 when he died, suffered numerous gunshot wounds throughout his life. In the wake of 2014 protests, he gained national attention for his anti-violence activism with a focus in particular on combating police brutality. And I'll read this final 2 paragraphs here. Seal was outspoken in his criticism of National Black Lives Matter organizers, activists, whom he accused of getting rich off the name of Michael Brown while doing little for the area of St. Louis where Brown came from. Actually, I'll pause there for your initial reaction to this. I guess we can, whoever wants to start.
Meanwhile, the progressives and the Democrats, they love the FBI now. This is why we did the coverage of the FBI. We continue to cover the FBI the way we do. I don't care what your political motivations are. If you want to abolish the FBI, let's abolish it, period. James versus Bree, like, I wouldn't abolish the FBI now because that only helps Trump. I don't care.
What does that have to do?
Yeah, like the CIA and the FBI has no mandate. Their mandate is to protect the people. The FBI is in charge of creating more terrorism than they solve. The CIA, what did the CIA does to actually protect you? People are so brainwashed. When we say stuff like abolish the CIA and abolish the FBI, normies be like, what? Who will protect us? They don't already. These are organizations that not only take our money and not accomplish their mandate, they do the exact opposite. They take our money and then put us, our communities in danger. So it's the exact opposite. Isn't that crazy? And I want to share this because it's related. Actually, I'll wait till the video's over because I'm going to share after the video. I'm going to show you guys.
I can play the video.
What I played before, what articles I showed before were a insane amount of Ferguson protesters was killed.
Yes.
Retaliation by the government. But people think this is not a fascist country. But go ahead, CJ, play the video and I'll dive into that a little bit later.
They just think, it's just black people getting killed. This is just a coincidence. That's what they would say. But Ben does cover this same article. So let's listen to how he covers it. It makes a lot of great points. I didn't want to play this specifically. So let's listen. Of course, we're not paying 15 minutes. We're not even going to play 5 minutes of it. So let's listen to a little bit of it.
A series of black activists involved in organizing their communities to protest racism and police brutality, especially around Ferguson, Missouri, have been killed in very strange circumstances in the past few years. Most people around the world have heard of the mass movement Black Lives Matter. It began in 2014 when police in Ferguson, Missouri, which is a suburb of the city of St. Louis, killed the black teenager Michael Brown, and the community protested. It set off this mass movement against racism and police brutality. Now, some of the community members who were not that well known, working class black activists, have died in very strange circumstances, have been killed, and in some cases have had their cars lit on fire, and yet they're not very well known. Meanwhile, the corporate media and big billionaire-funded foundations handpicked a small handful of so-called leaders who were never appointed by their community. They were certainly never elected in any way, and claimed that they were the so-called leaders of Black Lives Matter, ignoring the grassroots working-class black activists. And many of these people who have died, who have been killed, were actually very critical of the media. They were very critical of big foundations trying to co-opt the Black Lives Matter movement. And they were very critical of the Democratic Party for trying to exploit this working class grassroots movement for its political advantage. And one of the key figures who was involved from the very beginning in Black Lives Matter and criticizing the co-optation of the movement was Darren Seals. Darren Seals in 2016 was murdered. He was shot in his car, and then his car was set on fire. And we now know that the FBI was spying on him, was surveilling him, just as it did in the 1960s and 70s in COINTELPRO. We see a very similar program today. This is a media outlet from St. Louis, Missouri called the Riverfront Times. And on September 16th, it published an article titled, "Ferguson Activist Darren Seals Was Surveilled by FBI, File Shows." This local media outlet did a Freedom of Information Act request and got access to an over 900-page FBI file that was compiled on this activist, Darren Seals. The article notes that in September 2016, he was found shot and killed in his car, which had been set on fire. The murder has never been solved. And in this 900-page FBI file that shows that the U.S. national police, not just the local police, were spying on and surveilling Darren Seals, the FBI demonizes him and refers to him as, quote, "a self-described revolutionary who has espoused somewhat militant rhetoric and has access to weapons." Note, they didn't say that he owned weapons or he had weapons on him. He said they have access to weapons, which could mean anything. I mean, pretty much anyone in the U.S. has access to weapons because it's so easy to get weapons. So, but note how the FBI is trying to portray him as some kind of threat, right? Now, he never threatened anyone with violence. He never in any way hinted he was going to use violence. But he said, "I'm a revolutionary. I'm not just a boring liberal like the, co-opted, sellout, billionaire, oligarch-funded so-called leaders who were appointed by the media." Darren Seals was very critical of them. People like DeRay McKesson and Alicia Garza. He criticized them a lot. He was a revolutionary. And of course, he was the one who ended up being murdered. So if you continue this article, it notes that Darren Seals was outspoken in his criticism of national Black Lives Matter organizers and activists, whom he accused of getting rich off the name of Michael Brown while doing little for the area of St. Louis where Brown was from.
So he kind of goes into reading some of the article and then goes into more of his commentary, but go check out the video. You can see the title of it right there at the top of the screen. I can play some more if you two want. But what are your?
That's a great breakdown.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Yeah. He breaks it down a lot, and he gives a lot of the backstory that you were talking about, Nick, about other activists. He kind of gives that backstory. So go check that out, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share this link. I'll pass to you, JB, because I remember on my call-in. I don't get a lot of people who try to debate me often. There was this one guy who called in because I was covering Ukraine and Russia, and he was like, "I don't know why you guys got to defend Russia. They are this deeply authoritarian country." I'm like, well, my main focus is criticizing our country, and we have the moral high ground over nobody. And everything that you accuse Russia of doing, we do. And he was like, no. Well, in Russia, if you protest against Putin, they will murder you. You guys don't know. And then you want to know the response I gave him? I was like, do you know what happened in the Ferguson protest? The Ferguson protest where we rallied against the state, and then they killed many of our activists. That's the story we just did is a follow-up to this one, a one I reported many times. And this is something that's close to my heart because I was part of the Missouri Black Lives Matter protest. Ferguson is literally like 2 hours away from where I live, guys. So I know everything about what happened there. And local rumors, they obviously a lot of people that outside Missouri don't know. Everyone knows the FBI killed these people. Like in the Black community, they're like, yo, fucking crazy. Feds killed the people at the protest. Be careful, bro. Before I went to George Floyd protest, hey, feds killed everyone at the protest in Ferguson. It's like a well-known fact among Black activists in my area that this happened. But in that debate on Call-In, most people have no idea. Or if they do, a lot of the Western chauvinists, like the lady that said that Africans should pay for reparations, they would just probably say, oh, no, our country would never do that. That is something that Russia would do. That's something no, this is the United States of America. A puzzling number of men tied to the Ferguson protests have since died. 2 young men were found dead inside torched cars very similar to the story we just did, and maybe referring to one of them. 3 others died in apparent suicides. Another collapsed on a bus. His death ruled an overdose. So many examples of these. And this story that you just covered to show what our state would do if you push back against crucial power. If you go to a Democrat-sponsored rally, they don't give a fuck. But I fear for the life of Rome. And when I go to the protests, I go to the George Floyd protests, especially as black men, knowing that shit might be the end for me. And that's the reality of what it is. If you're not ready, I long since abandoned the idea that I was going to live a long life. If I live past 60, I'd be surprised. So I was like, if I make some positive change, that'd be great. But I know how our country operates. And every black man who protests got to be ready and got to acknowledge that there's a fact that this government may kill us. And if you don't, you're coming unprepared. I may sound paranoid, but it's better to be paranoid than unprepared, correct? So that's all I'm gonna add to the story. JB,
I don't hear paranoia, but you can go ahead. JB.
Yeah, I'm saying that's how I feel. Like when I went to George Floyd protest, like y'all might die. There's a good chance because I know what this empire does.
Look, I'm gonna put it to you like this. There are many of us who are in this space that honestly, I can say this with confidence, that people like me, CJ, Nick, Rome, and Sabby, we have already mentally prepared ourselves for what's to come by talking about these subjects. Already. That's you guys really don't, some of y'all just don't realize, you think we didn't study about what things they did to Fred Hampton and the members of the Black Liberation Army and members of the Black Panthers and things like that. We've studied that, and we know what comes when you challenge power and when you talk about taking back what was stolen from you. And so, with that being said, and the funny part is, you have somebody like you were talking about, Nick, where they said, oh, well, no, Russia does this stuff. I'm like, no. Even if Russia did that stuff, even if Russia did do that stuff, it doesn't hold a candle to what the United States government does. That being said, in fact, it's that's like saying, oh man, see, he got a couple of, he was wearing a white shirt and he had a couple of drops of spaghetti sauce on his shirt. Meanwhile, you're walking around there with your shirt completely orange from being dipped in sauce and going, but my shirt's not as bad as his. Are you kidding me right now? So that's the type of reasoning that some people have, is that they think, oh, well, they're the worst ones. That's basically the straw in the rafter whole segment. You're pointing to the straw in somebody else's eye when you got a rafter in your own. That's basically what the United States and a lot of the people in the United States do. The rafter is in the eye of the United States and the straw is in the eye of places like Russia or different other nations. No. Y'all got this big ass 2x4 sticking out your head and you're pointing at somebody else. No, we need to take care of our own stuff first.
So I did a search here of Putin, Russia kills protester. So they claim that anyone who dissents from Russia, you get thrown in jail, you get thrown in prison, you killed if you question it. But you guys ever notice they never give you names? Where's the names? We got many names. Like the story we just covered. They always very vague. And I'm gonna read you guys this segment from this article I just found. And I want to ask you guys, what does it sound like? Because I've always been clear with my coverage of US versus Russia. I'm not here to apologize for Russia. Putin is a capitalist. I don't care about him. My argument to liberals is, if you hate Putin, you should hate the United States of America. So let's read this article real quick. I know we're gonna wrap up soon. I'm gonna ask you, who does this remind you of? And CJ, I know you got bounce. If you got bounce, I'll just let me know. I can wrap the stream. But I'm gonna read the first paragraph of this. And who is this? Russia. Brutal arrest and torture. Ill treatment of anti-war protesters. On March 13th, police detained, at times brutally, Because the United States police arrest people so gently, CJ, JB. They are all so gentle. There was footage of a cop punching an old dude and he fell and cracked his skull. I know a lot of you guys seen that viral footage of during the protest, a police person punched an old man and he fell on the floor, cracked his skull, blood literally all over the street. But Russia, at times brutally, detains people.
It's ridiculous. But let me just say bye to everybody. I'm gonna check out. I gotta go pick up my daughter. Give us a like on your way out. The discrepancy, we have 358 people watching. Can we get to 25 likes? All right, fellas. Have a great rest of the stream. I'm taking off.
Have a good
one. All right, see you, CJ.
So I'm gonna start here too. It's not gonna be long, but I literally skimmed this. I was like, dude, this is already hilarious. Russian authorities have arbitrarily arrested thousands of peaceful protesters. What does that sound like? People being arrested in George Floyd protests left and right. They're in line with their increasingly brutal crackdown on those who disagree with Russia. The United States literally uses tear gas, a war crime on its own people. They use so much tear gas, they literally poisoned the water in Portland. That's how much fucking tear gas they use. So my response to people is, the United States have no moral high ground over Russia or any other country. When you look at this article, every single thing they accuse Russia of doing, like the police use excessive force against protesters. And throughout this entire article, not one goddamn name of dissidents being executed. I'm sure probably some pass away, but it's no different than what happens in our country. And that's the point I constantly make to people. Then consider the fact that we have 1/4 of the world's prison population. Now ask yourself, who does more? JB, final take on this.
Oh boy. Let's ask the people that suffered losses of their eye, maybe shattering of different parts of their body from the rubber bullets that are constantly used against them by these riot police, the concussions that were had because of their use of these batons. They literally have the police militarized against his own citizens. And people are going to sit here and say, oh, Russia's worse than the United States? Oh, my sweet summer child. Oh, baby, baby, baby. No. In fact, Nick, remember that thread that was over 200 different videos of police brutalizing citizens during the George Floyd protests? Remember that?
Standing Rock as well. Someone else brought up a great example. Standing Rock was a historic crackdown on protesters. Massive amounts of arrests. But go ahead, JB.
Massive. Yeah. And the thing is that for some odd reason, people seem to forget this. And then they seem to want to talk about other dictators around the world. I'm going to be honest. Do some, world leaders do some bad things around the world? Of course. But that's comparing Loki to Thanos. Like, motherfucker, get out of here. Okay? You guys are like presidents. The last 5 presidents have more blood on their hands than Osama bin Laden. The Queen of England had more blood on her hands than Osama bin Laden.
The Queen of England, the monarchy, I'll say the monarchy has more blood on its hands than all the mob families put together. And it's not even close.
And the cartels. And the cartels. We included them too.
All of them.
More.
Look at this. And this story is so funny. And the last thing, we had 9 minutes. This is a good time to wrap up. But last thing I'm saying, the reason why this article is so funny is because I told you guys the way that we talk about other countries is how we should talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
So if this is really happening in Russia, I condemn it. But look at the language that they use.
Mm-hmm.
And then they treat how what the police do to us as normal. But when you see how they describe other countries, that's them admitting this is how they would analyze our country if they wasn't sycophants, if they wasn't propagandists. So everything you hear in the first paragraph applies to Standing Rock, Black Lives Matters. They talk about political prisoners. There is I want to see if I can find one of the political prisoner. Here's one. He's a political prisoner. Standing Rock activists face years in jail. That is the same thing they accuse Russia of doing. And oh my God, they got political prisoners everywhere. So I put a tweet out a while ago because I wouldn't vote for Putin. But if you ask a liberal, will you vote for Putin? The answer will be obviously no. But they vote for Jim Crow Joe.
Funny how that happens, right?
I got a question, guys. Who has a higher kill list? Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or Putin? Putin is dead last. Not even close. So liberals are willing to vote for their evil, but the idea of voting for Putin would be so crazy to them. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that them admitting something? Maybe they are so propagandized. Maybe the cognitive dissonance is so strong they don't even realize it. So I really wrap the segment with that. JB, what you got coming up?
So this Thursday I will be with Z on the People's Voice Network. So I think that's at 9 or 8. I think it's at 8. So I'll be joining him. Also, I will be talking to let me make sure I say her name correctly, because I want to make sure that I say her name absolutely correctly. I'm going to be talking to the sister of Pushan Brown, who was basically killed by Amazon. Pushan Brown was a young woman that was administering COVID tests to Amazon employees. She was also an Amazon employee. She had no medical training, and she was not a certified medical, she had no certified medical education at all to be doing this. And she was testing people for COVID, and she died of COVID, and she had not received any type of assistance, nothing. Her family has not received anything, not even a card from Amazon in the wake of her death. And so I'll be talking to her sister about basically the blood that Amazon has on their hands. And so I'll be having her on the JB show this Sunday at 1 p.m. It's going to be a very deep episode, but I just want to, let you guys know about that. And I hope that we have a lot of numbers, because this story needs to get out. All you guys, all over 300 y'all watching, come watch the JB show this Sunday, because this is a story that needs to get out. This should be this should be international news. So let's talk about it.
You guys need to sub to JB Farm channel, because I told you guys he's covering up with substantive stuff. So that's gonna be an incredible show. Tomorrow, we're gonna have Black Power Media RBN collaboration, talk about political prisoners. So we got a lot of great content coming up. Thursday is gonna be a great day for us. I mentioned, for people who missed the beginning of the stream, we're going to have not only the Bad Faith interview with RBN is going to release, your boy is going to be on the Hill Rising, talking about Venezuela and migration. So I have a very interesting message I want to send to the Hill audience about what really caused the migration problems in our country. I'm super excited for it. So Thursday, we got a lot of great stuff coming on. I need you guys to hype me up. Let's give a big showing on Hill Rising, so we can continue to come back. So I appreciate all you guys for your support. Make sure you guys support the Patreon if you want to help the network continue to grow. The mainstream media, they can't keep denying us. That's why you see Hill, you see Sabby on the Hill. I'm gonna be on the Hill as well. We get more media spots, so that is because you guys are allowing us to grow. Please support the Patreon. Please donate to Mutual Aid Forever. That's JB's fonts fundraiser. And final thought: show love to your neighbors. Don't allow the corporate media. Do not allow the culture of our state that is meant to divide make you think your neighbor is your enemy. Don't let people convince you to be afraid of having conversations. Don't allow the mainstream cultural narrative allow you to just worship politicians and stand there helpless. Get involved if you can, even if it's small stuff. Even if you can just bake a pie for an action. But most importantly, being there for your neighbors, being there for your friends, that is the message that we all push. Our culture is rotten, but we can change it, at least amongst ourselves. So that's the message I want to end the show with. Have a great night. Have a great day, guys. We got JB and Sabby will be back on later tonight in about an hour. So have a good night, y'all. Take care.